ain't that time yet. It ain't that time yet. Fellas, what's going on back there, man? What y'all doing, man? They treating y'all all...
And actually, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
Because I know me.
And you don't have to understand my boundaries to respect them.
Well, no, I'm the president and co-founder of McShin, a personal long-term recovery from substance abuse disorder.
I'm like, okay, I gotta work on that. Like,
Celebrating my 6 months. Didn't have a cake.
Yeah.
gosh, you showed up.
Yeah, how much time she had? 3, 4 years or something? She had 3, 4 years or something? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I hear that a lot of times, you know, if you had some time. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, no. I mean, early part of that, yeah. We got that? Mm-hmm. Hey, good evening, everybody. My name is Marshall. I'm a person in long-term recovery. Let's get this thing started. Let's get it started. Yes. My name is Marshall. I'm a person in long-term recovery. I have found it necessary to use anything. Cigarette, drugs, alcohol, people, money. I haven't found it necessary to use nothing to be who I am. What we want to talk about tonight, there's a whole lot of stuff that we're going to talk about. I want to get y'all to talk, but what we want to talk about tonight is freedom. Y'all been reading about this. Some of y'all been doing this. But, according to the ladies that I can talk about, giving yourself some freedom, man. Some freedom to change, I remember early on in recovery, you had to give yourself permission, permission to do the right thing. What makes it so bad, you had to give yourself permission to do the right thing, One of the things I want to talk about, two of the things I want to talk about was decisions, problems, and decisions, how we cope with this stuff, But the freedom to change, man, that starts up here. That's where that starts at, So y'all think about that. Think about that. Now, an icebreaker to get y'all to talk. If you could go back to being 25 years old, what would you do different? If you could go back to being 25 years old, what would you do different? We talking about your future. I just want to give you a hint. If you could go back to being 25 years old, what would you do different? I'm first up. What I would do if I could go back to being 25 years old, I would listen. I would listen more. As I got older, I found out people were telling me some good stuff. I'm keeping it clean, John. People were telling me some good stuff. I won't listen to it. 10 years later, euphoric recall. Man, my mother told me, man, when I got my first job, my mother told me, said, whenever you get a paycheck, I don't care how much it is, always put some aside for yourself. Put some aside for yourself. You know, now what I see all kind of ways, man, where people are saving money. You know? I mean, people take $1 a day, put it away, take $1 a day, 30 days you got $1, you know. I mean, then they turn around and, you know, at the end of the year or whatever, man, you might have a couple of $1,000s, man, you know. I did that too, man. I did that too. Listen, I started working, and they had a Christmas savings. Opened up a Christmas savings. Put the money in the Christmas savings, $20 a week. When they told me, look, man, if you take that money and put it somewhere that you don't have access to it, you don't even miss it. And you know, when I was out there on the street, I was thinking, that's bullshit. That's bullshit. Because I know every dime I got. You know what I mean? And I had to put it to the test the same way I had to put the program of Narcotics Anonymous to the test, the same way I had to put other things to the test, because I ain't believe in shit. I believe in any way the wind blow, that's what I believe in. This program, I had to put it to the test. Like these people coming in here, they full of shit until I got involved in it. I put it to the test, and the program worked every time. Just like it was when I joined the Christmas Club. They were taking $20 off my paycheck every week. Man, at the end of the year, you know, I got a couple of $1,000s. And I'm like, damn, this shit work. I'm like, put $30 in that next year. That's the greed in me coming out. It's like, put $30 in that next year, you know. And this stuff works, man. You just have to, you know, we want to talk about the freedom to change. You just have to put this stuff to work. Like John has mentioned so many times. Get a sponsor, get a home group, get a support group, get somebody that you can talk to, get phone numbers, and put that shit to the test. The saying is, look, don't call me after you done picked up. Call me before you pick up. Call me before you use. You know? Put that shit to the test. And I'm telling you, if you're like me, you'll fail every time. Because the program works. Hey, John, what's that little saying? Rarely have we seen somebody fail that thoroughly followed our path. You know? And I mean, I'm here as a witness. I'm a witness to that. But, you know, again, my thought process is, man, talk about the freedom to change. What would you do different? Invest? If you could go back to being 25, you would invest? Good direction. Good idea. Good idea. What would you do different? Uh-huh. Absolutely. Yeah. What would you do different? Damn, you get the chicken and the biscuit for the day. You know what I'm saying? You get the biscuit and the chicken for the day. You know what I'm saying? Learn from your mistakes. You know, that's me, man. Learn from my mistakes. You know, after I did get involved in a program, I didn't want to participate in this any longer. I didn't want to participate in this because I know what this is, man. I mean, all I could see was the small picture. When I started seeing the big picture of this, I was like, man, I ain't participating in that shit no more. You know? That shit destroying me. That shit taking away from me and taking away from my family, taking away from my manhood. That shit is destroying me. I can't be the man I want to be when I'm constantly coming to jail every 2 or 3 years. I don't want to participate in that. And then some people, you know, when I talk about the big picture, some people are in an office now up on in New York somewhere trying to figure out how to keep people coming to the penitentiary because it's a lucrative business. Some that don't make a difference to it. It made a difference to me. I was like, man, I'm like him. I want some money in my pocket too. I'm going to keep making money for everybody else. I thought the same thing, man, when all this shit started connecting, man. You know, all this shit started connecting. I'm getting a drug dealer rich. You know, and all I'm getting is fractured relationships with my daughter, with my wife, with my mother. All I'm getting fractured relationships. Somebody else getting my money, getting my mortgage, my rent money, and they riding around in a nice car. I couldn't see that. I couldn't see that. You know, once I did start seeing it, I'm like you. I started learning from my mistakes. You know, I like the piece, man, about the freedom to change. You know, I realized, man, how boxed in I was. You know, boxed in my thoughts, boxed in my behavior. You know, and I got to get out of that. I got to get out of that in order to do what I want to do. And one thing to do to get out of that is to find out who I am, who and what I am. I'm a smart, intelligent guy. I like having fun. I like having clean fun. I'm a good husband. I'm a good grandfather. You know? And I got that through practice. I got that through work. And it's beneficial. You know? Because I understand, man, talk about some different things that caught me, like early on in recovery. You know? You come in here, and man, you can talk about the person sitting next to you for like 10 minutes. But you can only talk about yourself for like a minute. If that long, 30 seconds. You can only talk about yourself, you know? That means, man, that you know, it ain't balanced. You out of balance. You know what I'm saying? Man, hey, I know this thing worked, man. She told me early on before the meeting started, she said, I done started. She said, I ain't bored no more. You know? And we talked about that, man, couple of weeks ago. You know what I mean? About being bored. What it is that you like out of life, and you know, do you expect life to be at that point where you got to have something to do like every minute of the day? You know? And if that's the case, find something that you like doing and do that every minute of the day. She started writing. She started putting it on pen and paper, you know? And man, I told her, I know so many people that have written books, you know, that incarcerated. What's the guy, John, that travels around, comes to McShin every year? Ryan Hampton. That was the name I gave him, Ryan Hampton. He comes with the big mobilized recovery. They come to McShin every year, sometimes twice a year. But for those that are interested in writing, man, that's a resource, man. Come down there and meet this guy and find out what this guy's got going on. Man. You know, I talk all the time about the jail, man, like the jail. You know, what do we think about the jail and all of that, and how we visit the jail? By the time we 40 years old, we done been here 5 or 6 times and all that, you know. And I don't know when the light bulb is going to go off in anybody's head, but I know that you can turn this thing around. You can turn the ship around. You can turn yourself around, you know. That's why we come here, you know, to continuously bring a message, man, to turn this thing around, to turn you around, you know. Man, I still remember my wife saying, now you have become the man that I thought you could be, you know. And I'm sure there are family members that probably would have said the same thing about y'all. If y'all get y'all stuff together, if y'all get y'all head together, you know, get your behavior together, you know, people would say, I got my mother back. I got my son back. I got my brother back, you know. And man, that is heartfelt. Heartfelt. I love that, you know. For any of y'all too, man, you know, that need help doing this, need help trying to find yourself, man. We got a program, man. We got a program. The name of it is McShin Foundation. You know, the program is ready accessible. You know, the program is one of the best programs in the country. We got a guy, the former CEO of this program, man, the been to, 49 jails and overseas, you know, carrying this message, man, you know. So this thing might be a resource for you. Think about it. You know, he been to McShane. You know, what we understand today from SAMHSA is that all recovery is what they call it, self-directed. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you know, you can't say the program didn't work like I did. You know, then you put it to the test and you was like, oh, wait a minute. That program is working, man. That program is working. People are getting benefits from this program. Maybe I need to switch my stuff up. You know what I mean? Maybe I need to change my stuff, you know? And, man, I'm telling you, I was a drug dealer for some years, and I got more money now than I ever dreamed of having. I ain't sold nothing. You know, that slow grind. Slow grind. I worked my butt off for 25 years, you know? I just gave, man, a brother called me from Lynchburg. And to tell you about resources, call me from Lynchburg. And, man, I went on Google. And I Googled inmate jobs in Lynchburg. And, man, a website came up, man. This guy done called about 5 people about the job. They had a list of them that hired ex-felons. You know? And that kind of stuff, man, that kind of stuff is out there, man. You know? But you got to know somebody to know somebody to know somebody for that to happen, you know? And that's part of what I was saying earlier, thinking that I know everything. I couldn't talk about myself, but I can talk about other people, you know what I mean? So, man, whatever your dream, whatever your aspiration is, man, get some help with it. You make it work. Look, I got a job for you, cooking, as soon as you get out. If that ain't what you want to do, you know, do something else. This man can cook, man. One of the best cooks in here, in the jail. You know? He was cooking that Kroger spot when it was hot. And when I mean hot, when I mean everybody was visiting there. You know? That's why I stumbled up on him. I was like, wow. You know? And that's going to happen for everybody, man. The thing about it is I love what Moses said. Man, there are 1 million stores in the naked city. There are 1 million stores. There are 1 million stores in Richmond, Virginia. You know? Everybody has a store. You know? Don't be misled by your store. You can change that. You can change that, you know? But anyway, mentioning McShane, I got a guy, man, my golf partner. He done beat me for 6 straight months. You know? John, man. John is, man, a guy, man, that I love, man, you know, what he's doing, man, and I love how he do it, and I support him, you know what I mean? That's why I'm on the board of McShane. I got on the board of McShane through him, you know? You can become a member of McShane through him, you know? He's available, you know? With that, I give you John.
I love it.
Man. John, you won the money yesterday.
I did.
Yeah, you did.
I didn't collect none yet, but I won. Give Marshall another hand.
Yeah, right.
Hard to keep an old man motivated. Now, look, y'all know me. You know my story. You know my clean time. I listened to the Marshall talk, and, you know, a thought occurred to me. We talked about this in the meeting Sunday night. We're in a world where we really don't have a lot of control over a lot of things, whether we know it or not. You follow me? You know, it's like in this environment, you can't control a lot. Okay, you're really told what to do, when to do it, how to do it, what you can do, what you can't do. In community out there, I mean, I can't control my wife. I can't control her spending. I can't really control the bills that keep coming in. I can't control that I got to work and I got to pay those bills. There's a lot of things I just have to do that I really don't have a lot of control over. But an addict, there's one thing we got control over. Whether we hit that oh shit button and relapse and pick up and use that first one, we can control that first one. Okay? And a lot of us, we choose to control picking it up, consuming it, and next thing you know, we're off to the races. You know, think about that tonight when you go to bed and you lay it up and say, what did that guy say about control again? That didn't make sense to me when he was saying it, but let me think about that for a minute. before you pick up the first anything, you can control what you're doing and shouldn't be doing in regard to that. That's why, do you know the percentages of the amount of people that get introduced to recovery through a treatment center, an IOP, a program like this? All these people that engage some sort of treatment program for the first time, 97% pick up. 97%. That's a big percentage of people. Not many people go to rehab for the first time and stay clean and sober, okay? Those that do are called a 3%er. Okay, I'm a 3%er so far, but I know I got a relapse in me, so that's why I do today what I did yesterday, so should tomorrow get here, I'll be equipped to deal with it. Marshall's talking. Man, 25, what would you do over? Well, I got clean at 23. I'd have listened more to my dad and try to save a little more money, you know. But I did save a lot along the way. I got in a little gambling situation about 6, 7, 8 years clean. And my way out of it was to sell my assets and spend my savings, you know, because I didn't want to pay those high interest rates. So we're going to make mistakes along the way. But remember, you can control that first one, okay? You got a choice, you can control that choice. You can control not picking up. But once you pick up, you no longer have a chance to make a good choice because all your choices are going to get more. That's what happened to 97% of the folks. So take that for what it's worth. Once again, I want to constantly and never forget, you know, big heartfelt gratitude for Sheriff Gregory and Henrico Jail for letting us up in here. You know, Marshall alluded to the part where I've been to 46 different states speaking in jails and prisons. This type of stuff is rare. Yes, there's some good programs in our community. There's some good programs around the country, but not many. When you look at the amount of jails and prisons we got, not many let recovering people come in here regularly, you know, and bring you these meetings. So we appreciate you paying attention. I know you value these. I can tell because we develop relationships by now. And, you know, I can't thank Sheriff Gregory enough, and Pam, wherever you're at, she constantly comes in here and monitors y'all. I mean, this is stuff they don't have to be doing, but they do it. We appreciate it. And me and Marshall certainly don't have to be doing this, but we like doing it. We appreciate it. And yesterday, what Marshall didn't tell you, was going so good at that point, I was feeling bad. I was so lucky playing so good. Now, our speaker tonight, old friend of mine, I actually grew up in the hood together with him. And, you know, we've known each other forever. He's done very well in his recovery. I'm going to let you tell him the story, though, but pay close attention because I got you one of your own speaking tonight, okay? And he paid attention decades ago. And he's here to share you how he did it. So let's give a warm welcome to Darrin Parr. Come on up, Darrin.
Thank you, John.
Go easy on him. He ain't so young anymore.
How y'all doing? I'm Darrin, and I am a person in long-term recovery. I've been free of substances for 23 years, a little over 23 years. And I gotta be honest, this place gives me the creeps. It really does. And what I hope for everybody here is that when you get out of this place, that you live good, productive lives and you find something that you really want to do with your life. I was an inmate here for a while. In 1997. Several times I was locked up, and all of it was due to drinking and drugging. I really liked to drink. Took me a long time to realize that I had an illness. But I had to spend some time in jail to learn that I had to make some changes with my life. Spent some time in this jail for failure to pay child support. I was here 3 times for failure to pay child support. The first time was for 3 months, the second time was for 6 months, and the last time was for a year. And it was because I just didn't want to pay child support. I didn't want to do it. So they put me in jail. They locked me up for it. Each time I came in here, they sent me to the jail in New Kent County, therapeutic community. And I really appreciated that opportunity. It was different for me in regards to the way that jails were run, but I really appreciated it. However, the last time I got out in May of 1999, I still didn't think I had a problem with substance. You know, I thought that if I could read the Bible, go to church, maybe things would turn around for me. But that just wasn't the case. I failed to address an issue that I have that I'll have for the rest of my life. I'm an addict, I'm an alcoholic. And when I use or drink, I develop a phenomenon of craving. It causes me to continue to want to use. And that's my problem. When I start using, nothing else is as important as continuing to use. I've been homeless, lose jobs. I've lost respect of my family members because of all of that. And really, it's because of the feeling that I get when I use. You know, it's been over 23 years since I picked up a drink or a drug, but I'm not going to lie to you, I still think about it. I really do. Life's hard. It's not easy. So I needed to find different ways to cope with life on life's terms. Basically, I got tired of going to jail. I really did. I got tired of the consequences that I was receiving as a result of my actions. And the first thing that I needed to do, I needed to learn how to not drink and drug on a regular basis. And I did when I had 10 years over my head for possession of cocaine. Before I got out on that last bit for failure to pay child support, I did pick up a charge for possession of cocaine. And, you know, regular deal, go to court, you know. We're going to suspend your sentence. You got 10 years over your head. You got to do probation, blah, blah, blah. And when I got out, I did okay for maybe 3 months. Got out in May, June, did okay. July came, you know, I was working with my family. We have a construction business. And my brother said, you know, you've been doing okay. It's your birthday. We should go celebrate. Let's go have a beer. I was like, God, you know, I don't think that's a very good idea. But then my second thought was, well, he's my brother. You know, he loves me. I guess it's a good idea. Okay. So I had been in jail. It was a 1-year sentence, but I did 9 months. 3 months, you know, I'd been dry. And my birthday, 1999, went to Awful Authors down in Shockoe Bottom. I don't even know if it's still there anymore. But I ordered a Beck's beer, favorite beer, summertime. My brother and my coworker, and I took one sip, and it was like pouring straight alcohol on my brain. I couldn't hear my brother talk anymore. I couldn't hear my coworker talking anymore. All I could think about was, man, this is good. I want another one. And I only had one sip. My brother gave me 50 bucks. I went and spent that on crack cocaine. And I was off to the races again from July to December 16th. That's when I got clean and sober. But during that period of time, I had 10 years over my head, and I had to go see the PO, and I couldn't pee in that damn cup clean. And I had 10 years over my head. You would think, you know, your average individual would be able to stop for a period of time just to at least pass the test, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't satisfy this craving. It was beyond my control. And it's a disease that I deal with. I didn't know it at the time, but that's what I was trying to deal with, trying to satisfy a craving that's beyond my control. I failed the first test in August. I failed the second test. They put me in intensive outpatient treatment. I was spending $40 a session 3 times a week. Do the math, that's $120 a week just for intensive outpatient treatment. I didn't have a driver's license. I was living in the city of Richmond. Probation's in Hanover, and intensive outpatient treatment is in Chesterfield County. And my mother, you know, she's trying to drive me to all these places. So I'm starting to actually experience the process of recovery. The first step being that I'm powerless over drugs and alcohol, and my life is unmanageable. I'm not able to manage my life. I can't pee in a cup clean. I can't. So the next month comes, right? I'm doing the intensive outpatient treatment stuff, and I'm trying to tell the counselor lady all about recovery so she'll let me go. I'm thinking that she's going to let me go. And instead she looks at me and she says, why don't you stop kidding yourself, stop kidding us, and go out and finish, because you're not finished. And I said, the nerve of you. I'm out of here. And I left. And I didn't go back. So I've absconded from the law. And I didn't go back to probation. And I'm like, oh my God, they're going to catch me. They're going to catch me anytime. I had a little apartment. Probation officer left his card on my door one day. I said, I can't come here anymore. So I'm sleeping on a job, construction site down in Shockoe Bottom. So my life was really getting small. It's like I'm going back to prison. They're going to lock me up at any time. October came and went. November, spent Thanksgiving at the Greater Richmond Center with the homeless. Still wasn't ready to stop drinking and using. Ended up spending some time with my cousin in the East End. I'm originally from around here, but I'd burn all my bridges here in the West End. Ended up in the East End with my cousin. He was just like me. Last night I went out, used. He had his ex-wife's car in the driveway. Didn't have a license plate. I stole a license plate. He had a gun. We're going to go out and rob some people. And while we're doing this, I'm thinking, you know, I'm not a bad person. How did I get here? Now, I don't think any of us are inherently bad people. I really don't. I think we all have that good quality inside of us. But I know for myself, when I'm under the illusion of drugs, when I'm under the influence of drugs, grace leaves me. The Spirit leaves me. And I'm totally by myself. And I know that today. Back then I didn't. We were running the streets that night, couldn't find anybody out there to rob. I couldn't believe it. Thursday night, we ended up robbing one guy for 50 bucks. Spent the whole night trying to spend the 50 bucks, couldn't spend the 50 bucks. You believe that? I was so tired at this point in time. I went back with my cousin. We were staying at my grandmother's house who had passed away. No electricity in the house, no heat. He had a Where and When for a program to go to, and I went to that program on Friday night, December 16th, 1999. And I only went with the thought that, you know, they're going to lock me up. I know they're going to catch me, but I want to learn how to stay clean and sober so when I do get out, maybe I'll have an opportunity at some kind of life. I was 36 years old, and I had pissed that much of my life away. And I really didn't want to keep doing what I was doing because it sucked. It really did. So I went in and I told the truth to these people. I told them that I did not know how to stay clean and sober, and I needed help. And I think that that was the key for me, was to ask for help. For me, I always thought I could do it on my own. You know, I'm a man, I ought to be able to do anything, blah, 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 all that horse shit. But in regards to recovery from drugs and alcohol, I needed help and I needed a support group. So I bought into it. I bought into the recovery process and I started working recovery in December of 1999. December 16th of 1999 is my recovery date. So I just started doing what the program asked me to do. You know, I started getting phone numbers, I started making connections, I started to realize that, hey, there's an awful lot of people out here that are just like me, that had the same problems with using drugs and alcohol. And if they can do it, maybe I can do it. Just maybe. I don't know. So as I continued to go to the meetings, I continued to see the same people going to the same meetings and started to wonder, maybe this is like a lifestyle, a way of living. You know, and maybe I could adopt this way of life because the way I was living was not working. It wasn't working. So I started doing what they suggested that I do. Go to meetings on a regular basis. So I live in Sandston, and that's where I go to meetings. There are a lot of meetings in Sandston. We have meetings every night of the week, and I'm able to go and I participate. I'm a member in good standing with this fellowship. They asked me to get a sponsor. I said, well, how do you do that? And they said, well, find somebody that has what you want. And I was like, well, what do I want? I don't even know what I want. And they said, well, just go to the meetings and listen to the fellows share. And there was one guy, he was laughing about going to jail, wrecking cars, getting kicked out of houses, getting fired. And I was like, ain't none of that funny. None of it's funny. But I want to be able to laugh at that stuff like he is. And what I realized that I wanted was serenity. What I realized I wanted was peace of mind. And I didn't have that because there were a lot of issues that I had not addressed. The big elephant in the room was I had absconded from the law. So I'm in the fellowship, you know, I'm staying sober, but I got this thing I have to address, this 10 years that I owe to Hanover County because I was driving on their roads under the influence of heroin and cocaine. So I asked that guy to be my sponsor, and we started working the steps. And I wrote down a lot of stuff that I had done in the past. And I didn't know what was going to come of it. I really didn't. I just wrote it down because he asked me to. And then he said, okay, well, what you wrote down, we need to talk about it. And I thought to myself, well, you know, writing it down is probably good enough. You know, why? I don't, you know. And he said, well, it's necessary. So I did. And what I was amazed with was that this guy afforded his time to me. I mean, it was a whole block of a day. I was amazed that he was able to do that. Just said, I'm willing to sit here and listen to you babble for 8 hours about all this stuff that you've done. And you know what? I felt pretty good when I got all that stuff off my chest. I felt really good. Once I was able to get a lot of this stuff out that I hadn't shared with anybody in a very long time, I actually had some work to do, some positive work. I was able to see that you weren't the problem. I always wanted to blame other people for my problems. That process told me that I was the problem. And it was such a relief because I didn't have to worry about all of you anymore. All I had to worry about was me, one person. I could work on that a little bit at a time, just chip away at it. Fear, insecurity, selfishness, anger, jealousy, bitterness, all these things that just drove me to drinking and using. So I started to see what my real problem was, living life on life's terms. The inability to do it. When anything would come up, good or bad, I'd use. That's not an option anymore. I needed to learn a different way to deal with life. So we came up with a game plan. I had to start making amends to my family, my friends, workers. The big one was I needed to make amends to Hanover County. And he told me that. He said, you need to turn yourself in. I'm like, nah, I'm not going to do that. You know, I kicked my ex-girlfriend out. I'm going to go make amends to her. You know, she wrecked my truck and I kicked her out. I called my ex-girlfriend or boyfriend answered and said, she's been out for 3 days smoking crack. I don't know where she is. And I said, I know where she's at. And my first thought was, I'm going to go find her and make amends to her. That was my first thought. You know what would have happened had I done that? I'd have got high. So I called my sponsor. I said, you're right. I need to turn myself in. So I guess you can kind of surmise that I was doing some heavy praying. And what I've learned in the fellowship is that alcoholism and addiction discriminates against no one. Doctors, lawyers, police officers, judges, dentists, all walk of life are affected by this disease. It's a hideous disease. You know what? It kills people every day. It don't play. It don't play. I'm blessed. I don't know why I'm the one of the 3%. I don't know why. I just keep doing what they tell me to do, and it works. My life's pretty good today. So there was a lawyer in the program. He was able to help me, and he was a unique lawyer. He actually cared. I mean, he asked me to come to his house. I met him at his house, and he was like, well, tell me about yourself. I'm like, what? I've never had a lawyer treat me like this before. But he was like me. He understood that this is an illness, and it kills people. It takes large chunks of people's lives away. And I was able to talk to him about myself. So we came up with a game plan. Met with the Commonwealth's attorney in Hanover County and put together a game plan. People in the fellowship were able to write testimonials on my behalf in regards to what I was doing. And we turned them into the Commonwealth's attorney, and then I had to turn myself in. And that was a crazy day. It really was. You know, I did the deal. I wore my 2 pairs of socks, 2 T-shirts. You know, I had the gig. I had my soft-cover books. I'm going in planning. I'm not going to come out for a while. I was out in 15 minutes. I couldn't believe it. They processed me in 15 minutes. I had absconded from the law. And my lawyer was waiting for me outside, looking at clouds in the sky. I'm like going, what is going on here? This isn't the usual outcome that takes place for me when I do bad things. So something was taking place here that I could not explain. So when we went to court, he asked me to ask members of the fellowship to come on my behalf. And about 20 of the members came on my behalf in the middle of the day. And I thought, don't these people have lives? My God, this is court. Why are they coming to court on my behalf? And what they were doing was they were paying back to me what was freely given to them, the people that helped them when they needed help. And that's what I try to do today. I try to give back because it was given to me on that court date. And I'd been in the program long enough to be able to answer some general questions about recovery and what's involved with it. At the time, I was taking meetings into Henrico County Jail East. We were doing a program called Back to Basics. Salvation Army, doing that kind of stuff. And, I'm not bragging on any of that stuff. I'm doing it because it's what I'm supposed to be doing. I fit in society today. I have a purpose in life that's fulfilling. And I haven't been incarcerated. I haven't lost a job. I haven't got kicked out of my house. I haven't got divorced since I've been in recovery. So I'm not saying that it's a guarantee, but I'm saying my life has gotten a lot better as a result of that. So, he asked me about the meetings I was going to, and he asked the attorney if any of these people that had showed up on my behalf needed to speak. He said, no, I just want them to stand. And it was about a group like this, and they all stood up. And it was very powerful. It sent a message that recovery does work, in my case, on that day. And then the judge asked me if there was anything I wanted to say, and I said, yes. I believe in God. I believe you're a servant of God. I believe that what I did was wrong, and that I'm to do whatever it is you asked me to do, and I'm willing to do that. He gave me 100 hours of community service and indefinite probation. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. He said, keep doing what you're doing. And I've been doing that ever since. Now, the scariest day of my recovery is when that probation officer said, I don't need to see you anymore. We are done. Because I'd always been tied to something. And my first thought was, I can do whatever I want to do. And the mind, it just plays tricks on you. So I decided to go to a meeting and talk about it. And you know what? I didn't have to use. I didn't have to use. So I've just been doing the same thing, helping people. I was on the board at the McShin Foundation for 7 years. I've known John for an awful long time. I'm grateful he's in recovery. He does an awful lot for the community, and I'm willing to help anytime that I can to try to carry a message of hope that there's a better way. Jail sucks. No place to be. Life is good on the outside. I haven't been to this place in an awful long time, and I just don't care to come here. I really don't. I will come here to carry a message, but I don't want to come back here and spend any time. And it's not easy. It's not easy to follow the law all the time. It's not. It's hard. So I continue to do what they asked me to do. Still stay involved in the fellowship. Got married to someone in recovery. Got my rights back. I'm a felon, convicted felon. Still some things I can't do. I can't own a gun. That kind of gripes me. I wish I could get my rights back to own a gun. Not that I want to use it in any way. It's just because it's taken away. And I didn't think about those things when I was out there doing what I wanted to do. Got my driver's license back. I feel good about that. I've gotten a speeding ticket in 23 years. I used to get tickets all the time. Driving on suspended license. So life's good. I'm glad that John asked me to come and speak a little bit on behalf of recovery. If any of you guys, girls, have any issues or questions in regards to recovery, I'm willing to help any way I can. It's the least I can do to give back. It was freely given to me. Thank you.
You got any questions? Darrin? Thoughts, comments, questions? Yeah, you get your God right back. I mean, I know a bunch of guys got the big hunt up.
Yeah.
You can get a hunt. You can get a gun to hunt with.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right. I'd like to see you pull that one off.
Yeah.
That
Well,
would
I
be
don't know
good.
what the charges are yet.
Yeah. But
I owed $15,000 in child support. When I got sober, I paid all that off. So that was one thing that I really needed to deal with.
But Darrin worked a lot of people in recovery over the years. I mean, he paid good, man. I feel like quitting his chin sometimes don't work for him. But this is how you make connections and get resources and whatnot. So that's the face. That's for the YouTube. If anybody wants to say anything, got anything to say?
anybody got a question?
Y'all look happy tonight, man.
Yeah.
Y'all work hard today? It's hot out there, ain't it? Y'all go out. Y'all sit in the air conditioning all day long.
Yep, it's freezing out.
I know. It's cold. I'm getting cold.
Is it?
Right there.
Yeah, I had short pants on when I got here.
Yeah, it's freezing out.
Yeah, I bought some extra. I came prepared. I got a melanie in here. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I mean, I love the way, you've heard me say this before, anybody that comes here, all the speakers that we bring here, everybody got a different way of framing things. And I'm just trying to open you up to allow you to understand no speaker is a bad speaker. They just frame it different. But I love the way he talked about the steps of the program, about writing the steps down, you know, and then have to regurgitate it. That's the word I use. Regurgitate it to your sponsor. And I told you, you know, that's what make people think I'm smart. I learned how to.
He is smart. Don't let him fool you.
I learned how to regurgitate. You know.
He's way up, man.
But writing that stuff down, and then talking about it. I mentioned earlier before Darrin came how we can only talk about ourselves, man, for a minute, and we can talk about our neighbor for an hour or two. You know.
I wish the best to everybody here. I really do. I hope you guys get out of this place and don't come back.
Yeah.
Well, y'all been here. We've been coming since November. It's the same group, right?
Yeah.
Ain't nobody new in here, is it?
No, they lifers. They lifers.
They like it.
No,
Yeah, why don't they
I'm
let
just
new
kidding.
people in?
I'm just. They lifers until February. You know what I'm saying? And then they done. You know.
All right, well, if y'all ain't got nothing, I still got work to do tonight, so
Yeah.
we'll call it a night.
Yeah.
All real good. Thanks for coming
Thank
out.
you. Thank you. All right. All right. Yeah.